Here's an opportunity for Portland as they get numbers forward into the area. Goes to Valeri. He sends the goal and he scores! Diego Valeri has given the Portland Timbers that 2-goal cushion once again. It is now 3-1 in favor of the Portland Timbers. Here's Valeri to Bobasi, scores! Valeri took a shot, but Bobasi unloaded, and it is 2-0.
2-4, joining Aaronson. Brendan looking, playing it across. Bedoya! 2-0 Union.
Gonzalo wants it, drills it, and he scores! His first goal in Major League Soccer. It's a beauty on a free kick. Gonzalo Higuain has given Inter Miami the lead.
Still there for the Red Bulls, and they open the scoring. 17 years of age.
Created some very acceptable chances. Here, though, is Wright Phillips. Comes to Janela. Crisply struck with style and plenty of substance.
Chased from behind by Santos. Sejdic, low shot, and he scores, and Montreal are right back in the game. Trailing 2-1 on the goal by Amar Sejdic.
Well, he just comes for against it. He played the simple ball. Dia in for Hurtado. From Eric Hurtado.
It was Seagull. Go. Chase of Canals now coming. McKenzie, wow! Matt McKenzie with a scorcher, and Philadelphia has tied it.
Shot is burnt in, it's 3-0. Unbelievable from Mukhtar. It's an incredible free kick. Not sure who he's saluting, but he is saluting a 3-0 lead and 2 goals here now.
Magic beyond Bello. Here's Lewis Morgan. Curled in, back post break. Shea!
And it's in! He's done it again! Victimizing his former club, and it's Miami in front!
Towards Silva! Over Silva! And a goal for RSL! Kralak! And RSL punishes the mistake.
Stayed out of it. Hayden Clark from distance. Oh my goodness! Can you believe it? Larea with a nice ball to Pozuelo on the edge of the box, and Pozuelo makes it 2-1 for TFC. Behind the play, Rossi! What a game!
This is an absolute class finish from Rossi. It's almost like a trademark Vela strike.
Alejandro Bedoya, that's a good ball. Aaronson fires, he scores! Brendan Aaronson! What a shot!
And now he scores this time. Orlando City have pulled off the upset. They have knocked out LAFC. They have advanced.
It's MLS Decision Day 2020 presented by AT&T. The road to MLS Cup starts here. 13 matches and a lot on the line for some teams today, starting with Philadelphia looking to secure their first trophy in club history, a win over New England, and they will be the 2020 Supporters' Shield winners. But if they don't, could it be a little team up north called Toronto adding to their trophy case? They are nipping at Philly's heels for the Shield as they take on the New York Red Bulls. Can Toronto play spoiler? We will soon find out. Montreal has not been in the postseason since 2016, but that could all change today with a win over DC, who's also trying to squeak into the playoffs. After 3 consecutive losses, can Thierry Henry get them there in his first season? And of course, we are going to crown a new Golden Boot winner by the end of the day. Diego Rossi in the driver's seat. If he wins, it would be the first time that award would go to players on the same team in consecutive years after Carlos Vela took it home in 2019. So here is a look at what is on the line today. Of course, the 2020 Supporters Shield, the top place in the Western Conference up for grabs, as are the final 2 playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. Home field advantage in play-in and round 1 matchups. And like we just said, the Golden Boot presented by Audi. What is up, everybody? Welcome to MLS Decision Day, presented by AT&T Pregame Show. I'm Susannah Collins, joined by my partners in crime, Matt Doyle and Calen Carr. We also have Andrew Wiebe hanging out with us. He's going to have some interviews from around the league, and we're going to hear from him shortly. So, guys, we made it. What a wild, wild season it has been, but here we are. It's finally decision day. It feels like we've had about 5 different seasons all condensed into one. It's just been wild. So many challenges, so many adjustments that had to be made along the way. Calen, from a player's perspective, what do you think it was like having to navigate a season like this?
Well, Susannah, I mean, we had a lot of them on the shows for the first part of the year when MLS stopped, which was really cool. I think Dax and Julian Gressel were basically correspondents for us. But I've been talking to players throughout the year, whether it was them going to protest for the Black Lives Matter movement or going to the bubble, and the way they went to the bubble, where they were able to use the opportunity and the platform to really speak towards these messages of social injustice and racism and police brutality, and again, the formation of the Black Players for Change. And then you go forward and you see the solidarity expressed from all the players across MLS of all races, which was really powerful for me to see as a former player. And then even down to the last couple of weeks, I drove out to Chester and interviewed Mark McKenzie and Warren Creavalle as they were opening up their stadium to become a voting center. And now today, we may see them get a chance to win at the very same place, their first trophy in club history. So the players have really done it on and off the pitch. And for it being a really tough year, I think, in a lot of ways for everybody beyond soccer, I can't help but feel really proud of what the players have done, as well as to feel that in some ways we are better off in some really important ways at this point of the season than even where we began.
100% agree with that, Calen. It has been a grind all around. And Doyle, I want to talk to you. How have teams had to adapt in terms of tactics in 2020 when we think about the schedule changes and all the different nuances that we saw this weird season?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that for a sec. I just want to say 100% what Calen said with the players getting involved and making their voices heard, and they have given all of us so much more during what has otherwise been a hell year. 2020 has been a lot, and for the players to have sacrificed and used their voices the way they have, so deepest thanks from me, and I think from everybody at MLSsoccer.com. Now, on the field, it has been kind of a weirdly wonderful year because we've seen coaches adjust and go further down their roster and use depth and really it's meant play your kids. It's been a banner season for guys, whether it's coming out of the super draft like Daryl Dike or Henry Kessler, or academy players like Io Akinola and Brendan Aaronson certainly, and then a bunch of imports as well. So coaches have been able to mix and match veteran know-how with these young, sort of influential, mostly attackers, and it's made for a kind of a wide-open season. I would have thought it would be a more defensive and sort of cagier year, but it's actually been the opposite of that, and I think especially the last few weeks, we've seen teams going out and saying, you know what, we'd rather win 3-2 than 1-0, and I'm hoping we'll get a lot of that today on Decision Day.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't been boring. And in case you missed it, this is what the season has looked like. Here's a little recap of 2020, which kicked off on February 29th. You guys, MLS kicked off the 25th season celebration on March 12th. The season was suspended due to COVID-19. And then we were dark. We were dark until July 8th. That is when the MLS is Back tournament kicked off in Orlando. On August 11th, we saw the Portland Timbers win that tournament over Orlando. And then August 12th, the regular season kicked off. Nashville and FC Dallas playing their first in-market game since the season was suspended, which led us to right here today, Decision Day, presented by AT&T, November 20th. And guys, it's all going to culminate with MLS Cup on December 8th. Can you believe it? It's almost here.
A day of potential celebration for the Philadelphia Union as they pursue the first major trophy in their 11-season history.
Bedoya! 2-0 Union. Teasing ball in.
Yes!
Goal! What a goal! What a goal! Aaronson strike.
Yes.
And Aaronson scores. That's all Aaronson. Shabilka left end. Big shot. It's tied. That was McKenzie flying up the middle. What a blast by McKenzie.
In Toronto FC. Union taking on the Revs today. Toronto head to Red Bull Arena. 2 points per game each. Remember, it's not on total points in the year 2020. Let's now go to Charlie Davies on a beautiful fall day in New England. Charlie, you are smiling. The Revs are in the playoffs. They have a big test today against the Union. You played for Philly. What would a supporters shield mean to this club?
Validation, Andrew Wiebe. Philadelphia Union have done so much to prepare for this moment with youth investment. You talk about YSC and what Richie Graham has done for the club. They've been able to produce player after player, but have yet to win a trophy. For this to be their first trophy, it would give everything to the club. For them to know this is the process, trust the process, just like Philadelphia has always had to really battle to get to this point. And now they feel like they're ready to show all the youth that we've developed are now ready to win trophies for the club.
Is this an opportunity for them? Absolutely it is, but they're going to lose Brendan Aaronson in the offseason, headed to Red Bull Salzburg, maybe even Mark McKenzie. They have not lost a game. They've not drawn a game. They've won every game at home. Do they need home field advantage in the MLS Cup playoffs? We're even looking forward past the Shield. Is this an MLS Cup contender? And if they're at home, they have to be, right?
They are a contender, Wiebe, but they need home field advantage. This is a club that struggled to play away from home. But when they are at Subaru Park in Philadelphia and Chester, Pennsylvania, they're 8-0-0 because they know how to play at home. They feel comfortable, and they're really relentless when they play at home because they're aggressive. They know how to press. They have that balance. So if they are able to play at home and secure that number one seed, this is an opponent you do not want to face in the playoffs.
Absolutely not. So deep is this Union squad, so fun to watch, but they've got to do it when it counts. On the flip side, New England are in, and they're almost back at full strength. He's seeing Carles Hill has got to make everybody around the league's heart sing just a little bit. Tell me about how they make a run in the playoffs. How far could they go?
Carles Hill back fit, big difference. But then Gustavo Bo's fit. Adam Buxa finally finding his form. So now the Revolution have 3 DPs who are on the field at the same time. We haven't seen much of that. Maybe 1 or 2 matches this whole season. So that's encouraging for the Revolution. You have Bruce Arena at the helm. His understanding of heading into the playoffs, getting his team to play their best at the right time, that's something that he's done for a while now. He has 5 MLS Cups to show for it. Now, I think what really depends on the Revolution making it is that defensive midfield position. They have all the attackers. They have players who can change the game. They have those game changers, match winners. But do they have an anchor in the midfield who's going to protect and shield that back four? That's the only question I have for the Revolution.
3:30 p.m. Eastern, ABC, Philly playing for the Supporters Shield. Revs trying to upend that dream. Charlie, take me around. You got your eyes open. You're watching the game, but I know you're on Twitter, man. I see you liking stuff, responding. What other game are you going to be thinking about at 3:30 p.m. Eastern?
DC, Montreal. DC, all the struggles they've had this year. Firing Ben Olsen as coach. You have an up and down season. You have a lot of youth coming into the squad. Moses Nyman, Griffin Yao, a lot of players who have shown potential. Now is the chance, with your backs against the wall, to win at home and get into the playoffs. Julian Gressel back in the fold. There's a lot of players that have stated, man, with all that's happened to us, we still have a chance. We believe in ourselves. We know we have the quality, and they do. They just have to put themselves in a position to play the free football that DC United can. And now we're talking about a DC team who's revitalized heading into the playoffs.
All right, 2 spots for 5 teams in the Eastern Conference. Who will make it? We shall see. We know Charlie Davies is enjoying a nice, crisp fall day. Nice colors behind you, Charlie.
Yes.
Looking forward to your game, man. We'll check back with you later. I know you'll be on the post-game show as well. All right, Suze, back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Andrew. All right, so again, with a win today, the Philadelphia Union will be your 2020 Supporters Shield winners, taking home their first ever trophy. But they've never been able to get the job done. I think we're going to take a look now at some of their close calls. They've almost done it. They've gotten to finals in the U.S. Open Cup and just have not been able to get those wins. Of course, 1 win in 5 MLS Cup playoff appearances, and then they lost with a chance to clinch the trophy last weekend against Columbus. They're going to have to take care of business today against New England to get this done. And we are awaiting for those lineups right now ahead of that match. But one question mark for Philly is Andre Blake. We saw him leave that game against Chicago with a hand injury. It got kind of caught in the net. It didn't look good. We're not sure if he's going to play this week or for the playoffs. Calen, how big of a difference does he make for that Philadelphia lineup when he's in?
Oh, huge. He won't be in today. I'd be shocked. I think he does have a chance of returning for the playoffs, but he's the goalkeeper of the year for me. Statistically, right around the top of the league, and with the season that they have had, I feel he is deserving. I would say with goalkeepers, Susannah, that for me, if you make the saves you're supposed to, that's great. The excellent goalkeepers make a few that they're not supposed to get to, and in Blake's case, I feel like he's consistently made the ones you're not supposed to and then sometimes had mistakes. And this year, the consistency has been at another level, and he still had those highlight reel saves as well. So, look, I think they're going to have to change the way they play a little bit to deny service as well as to step out a little bit. But it's always a balance, because if you step out a little too far and you leave space for Bunbury, or you change the way you play, that can also be a danger spot for you. So I'd expect Philadelphia to try and limit service. And for Martinez, if he's back in the lineup, that's going to make a massive difference for them to clog things up in the middle.
And I'm going to jump in.
Absolutely.
A massive call right here by Jim Curtin, because it's not Joe Bendick who was in goal last week for Philadelphia. He went with the Union Academy product, Matt Freese, getting his first appearance of the year in goal today for Philly. Big spot for the kid.
Big spot. Wow. Was not expecting that. Good scoop, Doyle.
Way
to go.
Yeah, right?
All right. Doyle, the emergence of Brenden Aaronson in that Philly midfield has been a huge part of their success this season. What does he bring to this Philadelphia lineup?
A ton of energy. He has been really, really good in whatever position he plays. But this year, it's been mostly as a number 10 in that 4-4-2 diamond. And when he gets on the ball, he can be so dynamic, especially when they get out into transition, which is exactly what we're seeing right here. This play, it's a semi-transition moment. Philly moved quickly from back to front, and he finds this little pocket of space. He receives the ball across his body, and then this vision. This is a Kevin De Bruyne pass. To see that play on the other side of the field, he's just so dynamic, and he could be a match winner when the game is wide open. We've seen it time and time again. It's why he got sold for anywhere from like $7 to $9 million to a Champions League team. But here is the issue with Brenden Aaronson. As good as he is in transition, his reactions are slow in possession. He needs to make this run hard and early, because that's where the open space is. He makes it slow and late, so Philly have to recycle possession. Same exact sequence of play, except it's Sergio Santos making the run. He makes it hard and early, ends up getting on the ball into the box, creates a couple of chances, the second of which Aaronson should have scored. If New England sit back today, a lot of the pressure is going to be on Aaronson to pick that defense apart, to find the right spots in possession, and then to break the game open, because that's what number 10s are supposed to do.
All right, well, we are just getting word that we have Philadelphia's lineup for today. Here is a look at the starting 11 for the Union. And Calen, let's start with you. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, well, you see the goalkeeper decision there was made. I thought maybe Bendick might get it just based on his experience, but Freese gets the start from here. And then the big one is Martinez stepping in to the middle of midfield. He has been such a difference maker in changing this Philadelphia Union team. And Aaronson, as Matt Doyle mentioned, I mean, I think Scott Caldwell on the other side may have trouble with his mobility. This Union team can really stretch you and move you around in a lot of different ways.
All right, Doyle, anything standing out for you here?
I mean, it's the Freeze decision to put him in there in such a huge moment, and it just reiterates Philadelphia's commitment to building from their academy. It's a huge spot for the young man, and it's a huge spot for Jim Curtin, too, because he made a tough call.
Yeah, it certainly did. All right, guys, we've got a poll question for y'all. We want to know who you think will take that top spot in the Eastern Conference. Will it be the Philadelphia Union, or will it be Toronto? Right now, it's looking like Philadelphia kind of running away with it here. And I kind of agree. I think this is it. I'm feeling good about Philadelphia's chances at this point. What about you guys?
Oh man, I mean, look, they control their own destiny.
Yeah,
right? And that's exactly what you want.
That's what
But this
you
New
want
England
to be in that
team,
position.
This New England team is really good, and like Charlie was saying in the previous segment, they have Carlos Hill back, they have Gustavo Bo back, they have Buxa starting to play like a DP center forward. I mean, I'm not going to bet against the Union because they found a way all year. But this one feels like a nail biter. I know I would be nervous if I was in Chester.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I think the Union will be confident. I think they'll show up. And look, when you look at this Union team, I mean, 8-0 at home right now. They put themselves in position to be here. And then you can't talk about the Union without talking about the depth. So if it does get tight or if it does go late, you will have a look at Fontana, Ilsinho, and Burke off the bench. Those are some pretty good options. Or Warren Creval off the bench. He's available now, as well as Jack Elliott in case they need to shut things down.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I get a sense, too, that Bruce Arena would love nothing more than just to play spoiler. You know, like he would just love to mess things up in that way. So we'll soon find out. Let's take a look now at the Eastern Conference standings. This is how it is shaping up as we head into Decision Day. And as you can see right now, Montreal and Chicago have those last two spots. But it's anyone's game, really. So much can happen. Atlanta. When you think about it. Let's take a look at the 538 odds quickly to see who they think has the best chance. And it's interesting. So Miami and Chicago at about 52%, and then right behind them, Montreal, Atlanta, and DC. It's kind of like, ooh, wah wah. But again, this is Decision Day. We have seen crazy, crazy things happen. So nobody is out of contention at this point. And guys, as we kind of look at these teams that are all fighting for these last two places in the East, which club do you think has the most pressure on them right now?
For me, it's Inter Miami because they've spent at a huge level. They've brought in guys who have been champions everywhere, and they haven't played better because of it down the stretch. But they have a game against Cincinnati. This is exactly what you want because Cincinnati have not been able to do anything for months and months. Miami's got to get it done today. The pressure's on them.
DC United and Atlanta United, just to even still have a chance after losing their managers and going through all that turmoil this year is pretty remarkable. And Montreal, after everything they've been through, losing players, having to move to the United States, I mean, it's just been one knock after the other. So I'm going to go Chicago here. I think when you look at them, winless in their last 5, 1 win in their last 8, they've left points on the table as well, losing late leads to Minnesota United and Red Bull. Beric is going to have to be big for them, but I think there's a lot of pressure on Chicago Fire to make the playoffs.
Three consecutive 1-0 defeats have sent them home early. Just the second team definitely eliminated from the MLS is Back tournament.
I only can say, I will give always my best, and I'm going to continue that until the end.
We've got a really, really good group of players. They're capable a lot more than they're given, and my job is to give them that opportunity, and that's the challenge with any group.
Tough watching there for the Five Stripes faithful. 2020 did start well, results in the CONCACAF Champions League and the pre-COVID regular season, and then it went off the rails. Joseph Martinez out for the year, a poor MLS is Back tournament that ultimately cost Frank de Boer his job. Pity Martinez sold to Saudi Arabia, and of late, just 2 wins in 9 games and in need of help to make the Audi MLS Cup playoffs. All right, let's head out to Atlanta for an AT&T 5G call to the field with Jillian Sakovits, Atlanta United host and sideline reporter for Fox Sports South. You can catch her on the call-up wherever you listen to podcasts. Jillian, what's up? It is great to see you. Let's just jump right into it. Atlanta United, desperately clawing for a playoff spot. That is not what we thought 2020 would be like for this squad, this club. Give me the vibe check. What's it feel like on decision day?
Well, my vibe is I'm pumped because I think we all know we didn't know if this day would come. I mean, this was supposed to be MLS Cup weekend. It's decision day, and I am just happy that we are wrapping up the regular season. So credit to MLS. This is an exciting day. But vibe check for Atlanta United is there's no way around it, Andrew. They have to score first. This team is 6-0-0 all year when they score first. And I have news for you. They have 6 wins on the season, and then they're 0-12-2 when they don't. So mentality-wise, confidence-wise, this is a team that has to score first, which is what we saw last weekend against FC Cincinnati. Now, when I talked to Brad Gazan earlier in the year, the one thing that he told me that he felt like this team, not the one thing, but probably the top thing that he felt like this team was lacking at times was that grit, that nastiness. And that comes from run of games. You know, you don't have angry emoji Joseph Martinez riling everybody up. You got 23, 24, 21, 23, 24-year-olds in Miles Robinson, Gallagher, Barco, Brooks Lennon, Emerson Hyndman. You know, that's a big difference from when you had guys like Nagby, Parkhurst, LGP. So it only comes with a run of games. And Stephen Glass feels like they're finally there. Marcelino Moreno, Jurgen Damm, they've only been able to play with these guys for weeks. So they feel like that's coming, that nastiness is coming, that grit is coming. But they have a long story with Columbus, so we'll see how it works out with them.
Finally there, maybe just a little bit too late for Atlanta United. We shall see. As we said, they need a result. They need help here. 2020, I'm just going to use the word mediocre for this club. It has not been up to their standards, but you said it against FC Cincinnati, maybe their best game of the season. Now, you don't know what that means because Cincinnati with Atlanta are down at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Let's just say that they go on the road today, they win in Columbus. How have they got that done? And would they in any way scare other playoff teams if this team gets into the playoffs?
Their interim manager, Andrew, has said since I first met him in July, Stephen Glass, who they took up from Atlanta United too, has said, I think if this team can make the playoffs, he knew that it would be a scratching and clawing their way in. He knew it wasn't going to be easy, but if we can make the playoffs, he feels like this team can be dangerous. And he's a guy who knows all about development, chemistry, meshing. I mean, working with the academy. And like I said, Damm, Marcelino Moreno, like give them time to mesh with these guys like Hyndman, Lennon, Barco, Gallagher, Miles Robinson, who we see back today. I think they have to win today. I know that they have to win today. And then they need a little help from their rivals to get in. But then if they can do that, they will have that crucial 2 weeks. And I think this is a team that can make a run. They've just had no time together and what's been a hectic schedule. This week, having a week off to train and prepare has been an anomaly.
We spoke highly about the crew for a good chunk of this season. Their form's dropped off a little bit, but still, people say MLS Cup contenders potentially. They were injured. Now they're healthy. The big guns are back. Are they a legitimate MLS Cup contender in your eyes?
I'll say this first. I learned in 2015, my first ever assignment with MLS, maybe it was going to be a one-off, and it led to all of this, to never count out Caleb Porter on decision day. I got sent out to Portland in 2015, and it was Jill. Portland Timbers could go anywhere from a 2 to a 7. And they could make the playoffs, they could miss the playoffs. They not only made the playoffs that year, but they won MLS Cup. Caleb Porter, I'm sure, is furious to have had to fall out of the running for Supporter Shield and to come off of a really disappointing performance in Orlando. They didn't look like the team we know. They had a poor run of form a few weeks ago. Of course, there were the injuries in there, but Caleb Porter has his best 11, his ideal 11 back today, as you guys talked about. So I think look for this to be a very hungry team. Sure, they want fourth. Sure, they want to hold on to home field advantage. But I think they're angry about the way their season has ended. And another thing to keep in mind is Columbus has been a bit of a thorn in the side of Atlanta United. You know, you think back to 2017, it was Adam John, who's now here in Atlanta. It was Adam John's penalty kick that sent Atlanta home, packing the that everybody remembers. And then last year, Columbus had nothing to play for. It was a game like 2 weeks before decision day. I think it was September 12th, so 3 weeks before decision day. Columbus was 12th in the Eastern Conference and came in here and embarrassed Atlanta United at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in front of tens of thousands of people and gave them a tougher ride up the standings, which Atlanta United was really pushing for. So there has been a lot of history between these two, and I think they're both going to be up for the challenge, and Columbus isn't going to make it easy.
I think back to pre-MLS is back. Caleb Porter telling us, we don't care how it happens. We just want to be ready for the Audi MLS Cup playoffs. We want to win MLS Cup. They are certainly a contender. Atlanta United just trying to sneak into the playoff field. Thank you so much, Jillian, for joining us. Suze, back to you.
Thank you, Andrew and Jillian. All right, guys, right now we are going to take a look at Toronto's starting 11 for their game against the Red Bulls. Doyle, we'll start with you. Anything sticking out to you here?
It looks about like what I thought it would look like. Alejandro Pozuelo is going to be that number 10. He's going to play with two wingers. It's Nick De Leon and Tsubasa Endo. The big thing is going to be the big kid up top. Ayo Akinola has been a goal machine in 2020. Came in, kind of out of nowhere. And when he has been on the field, when he has been healthy, this Toronto team has been so good. So keep an eye on him. The other thing is keep an eye on Michael Bradley. He's working his way back from injury. He has not been good the past couple of weeks. You can exploit his lack of mobility. They need to help him defensively in that deep central midfield area.
Yeah, Matt, the other thing to notice real quick is Mullins. He's been used at times as well. Could they potentially bring him on? And then the other big news, Josie Altidore on the bench. And if we look towards the end, late into a game, could we see him and potentially Ayo pair in a 2-forward formation going, which might be something Vanny might throw out there if they as they progress through the playoffs.
A little Brian Shing, Calen Carr type of vibe from that, right?
Well, you love to see it. All right. All right, I think we've got to look at the New York Red Bulls starting 11, and Calen, we'll keep it with you here. What you seeing?
Yeah. Well, Kaku's on the bench. That's probably the biggest thing that stands out to me, and they're going to go with White up top, who's been able to get them goals, and Barlow out wide. And so I think this Red Bull team, we know how they play. They're going to pressure. They're going to create opportunities. They're going to try and create turnovers in bad spots, and the Toronto FC's center backs are prone to making mistakes. So for a team like Toronto, like New York, that is going to pressure, that's the area to watch.
I actually think you're going to end up seeing more of a 4-4-2 with White and Barlow up top together. And what I'm really interested in from this Red Bulls team is how high and hard they press from the whistle. Because sometimes under Bradley Carnell, they haven't come out in that press real hard, and they've saved it for the second half. So these two teams are very, very good at changing the game midway through, be it through personnel or for tactics. This is a very interesting game to keep an eye on.
All right, let's move it along to the Chicago lineups. They are taking on NYCFC. Chicago currently hanging on to that 10th and final spot right now. They are winless in their last 5 games, but this is how they are lining up for this one. Calen, what you make of it?
It's what we expected. This is what Chicago Fire have done. They've trotted out the same 11 pretty consistently throughout the year, but the results have not been consistent. In fact, pretty much anything but. And they've come back late in games to salvage points or results, and they've lost them as well. So the depth that for me is a question. Can they do it? And then ultimately, can they limit the big mistakes? That we've seen big mistakes, whether it's lack of discipline, lack of tracking runners, and mistakes in the back specifically. So that's what I'm watching for Chicago today. No margin for error.
Doyle, anything to add there before we move on to NYCFC?
Calen nailed it in terms of heartbreaking.
You seemed like you were biting your tongue.
Calen absolutely nailed it. Who's going to make the big mistake for Chicago? That's the same question the Fire have to ask themselves every single week. As for NYCFC, as for NYCFC, it's all about that central midfield for me. With Maxi Morales healthy again, and Ring back at a defensive midfield position, and Keaton Parks in his natural number 8 position, these 3 guys together can get on the ball and just completely control the game and then rip you apart. So even though they're missing Eber, they're missing, Tajiri Shradi's back on the bench, but he's probably not going to play more than 15 minutes in this one. Obviously, they sold Mitrica midway through the year, so they're down to like backups at their front three. It almost doesn't matter because that central midfield, when they're together, when they're healthy, they are that good. They elevate everyone around them. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what type of momentum NYCFC are able to go into the playoffs with, specifically because of that trio.
Yeah, and a team that not everybody's talking about right now. I think most of the attention is going towards the Supporters' Shield race when you look at Philadelphia and Toronto FC, which is not a bad spot for a New York City team coming in with maybe a little bit less expectations, but rounding into form and rounding into health, more importantly. Morales changes this team, and Castellanos has been hot as well.
Yeah, and with the win, they're also looking to clinch home field advantage in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. But guys, decision day always seems to bring the drama, right? We've seen some wild ones in the past. So let's take a look back at some of the highlights. This one, oh my gosh, from 2015, the Red Bulls beat FC Dallas. They got the Shield by goal difference of only 6 goals. And then in 2016, this was a golden boot race for the ages. And it was BWP who beat out David Villa. He had 24 goals that season. That was his second golden boot. And then in 2017, oh my gosh, I'm having flashbacks of this. This one was wild. San Jose against Minnesota. They came back with a Marco Urena last-minute goal assisted by Wondo, knocked FC Dallas out. And then, 2018, I'm getting all worked up here. All the Galaxy had to do was win against a not very good Houston team. I'm very sorry, Calen, but that was the truth. And then Mauro Manatas scored a brace, and LA were out. And then, of course, last year, just a history-making season for LAFC. They set the single-season points record. Carlos Vela set the single-season goals record. I mean, just an absolutely incredible 2019 campaign for LAFC. It was so much fun to watch that all fold out. Guys, if you're just joining us, welcome to MLS Decision Day presented by AT&T Pregame Show. Susannah Collins here with Matt Doyle and Calen Carr. We've got Andrew Wiebe standing by with some interviews from around the league, and we just went through some of the craziness that we have witnessed on Decision Day. Guys, what were some of your favorite Decision Day moments? Doyle, we'll start with you.
I mean, I'm a big Schadenfreude guy, so that 2018 Galaxy meltdown against a Dynamo team that, as you said, Suze, that was not a very good Dynamo team that year.
No!
The Galaxy, all they had to do was win at home against a non-playoff team, and it's not just that they lost, it's that they lost after taking a 2-0 lead. It's the most epic Decision Day meltdown we've ever seen, and Schadenfreude.
Look at the smile on your face. You were. I remember sitting.
I'm just trying to get you to sing. I want you to sing Avenue Q. Is what's happening here. I just want you to break out in the song.
It's another show. Listen, we have an entire playoff run to get all the show tunes in. So I promise we'll get it in there at some point. Calen, what about you? What were some of your best Decision Day moments?
Well, I'm normally against Doyle's cynicism, but in this case, with the Houston Dynamo over LA Galaxy, I got to support him on this one. You got to give a shout out to Wondo and San Jose, who, by the way, have just I feel like they deserve a Lifetime Achievement Award for shocking, exciting, dramatic results. So, but I was thinking back to my own experience in Decision Day and a 2-0 loss to Colorado on the road. Doyle, you had to be watching that. You've watched every game in MLS history.
Oh, yeah.
We decided to rest players because we weren't sure if we were going to play a midweek game or not. And ultimately, that was a bad decision because we ended up by 1 point losing hosting MLS Cup to LA Galaxy. We won't go into that. But I was rested that game, came on for the last 20 minutes. We were down 2-0. And I thought I was going to start the playoffs, but we had Kanji, we had Giles Barnes, Will Bruin, a good forward line. And I just ran, I played the last 20 minutes in that altitude, Doyle, I was just gassed by the end of it to earn my spot for the playoffs, right? We had locked our position. We knew we were going to be in the playoffs. So I would say there are clubs today that are definitely vying for playoff position. But even for the clubs that have already qualified, there'll be players fighting for their playoff position as well to be able to enter into the starting lineup. So that's another storyline to watch.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that very personal story.
Gotta run.
That was great. My favorite decision.
We don't have highlights of that one.
That's a shame. We should have gotten that in there. Dang it, missed opportunities. No, my favorite decision day moment was watching Doyle watch the Galaxy implode, because it was like this evil smile. I mean, he was just loving and savoring every second of it, and it was pure joy, brought pure joy to my heart. Well, guys, here's a taste of what you can expect today. Let's get into a little decision day whip around.
Let's do it. And we're starting off in Philadelphia, of course. Sunday, of course, ABC. This is the big one to see if Philadelphia can win their first trophy. And on the other side, Bunbury and the Revs rounding into form.
Toronto tied atop the East with Philly. They need a better result than the Union. That's what it comes down to. If they get that, they win their second Supporters' Shield. Red Bulls, meanwhile, they could get out of the play-in round with a win and a little bit of help.
All right, Chicago versus NYCFC. Chicago trying to hold on to that final playoff spot. They've dropped 9 points from leading positions this year. If NYCFC wins and Columbus loses, they would get a home playoff game, which would be huge for NYCFC.
That's right. And you heard this earlier from the excellent Jillian Sakovits. Yes, Atlanta United are still alive. They have a chance to make the playoffs. And Columbus are clinging to a home playoff game, but getting healthy at the right time.
Two teams in this one still alive as well. The Chad Ashton bump has been real for DC United. They've lost just once in their last 5. Montreal have won just once in their last 6. They are clinging to that playoff spot by a thread.
Clinging. Miami, you guys, they still have a chance as well. 5:38.
They're playing Cincy, of course.
I know. Listen, you guys, we're so mean to Cincy, but a 52% chance to make the postseason, according to 538.
I just like the way you said Miami. I like
Miami!
That. On the other side, it's the other expansion team, though, that has already clinched their place. Yes, Nashville SC, and maybe the surprise story of the season, Orlando. They've locked up a home playoff game.
Yeah, and Sporting trying to lock up the number 1 spot in the West very quietly. It kind of snuck up there. They've won 2 in a row. They've been playing well for the past month. No Alan Pulido in this one, though.
LAFC, Portland. Yes, Carlos Vela, that man is back. And that is not a good sign for the Western Conference if you're not an LAFC fan. On the other side, Portland, though, if they win this, they can finish. They could finish first in the West.
All right, I'm looking forward to this one. Seattle against San Jose. Could this be Wando's last regular season match?
Don't say it.
No, say it ain't so. No, come back, Wando. Seattle, though, you guys, could end up first in the West with a win and a little bit of help.
The Rapids aren't going to end up first in the West, but they're in the playoffs, and they are a lot of fun. They've won 2 in a row against Seattle and Portland. They could jump as high as 5th in the West with a win against a pretty hapless Houston team. Yeah, I said it, Calen. Pretty hapless.
That's cruel. And now I got to talk about FC Dallas, and they're in the playoffs. This has gone from bad to worse. Now, Dallas plays against Minnesota. This actually could be a preview of the first round. And if Dallas wins, they would get a home game.
Okay, you guys, Vancouver, take it on the Galaxy. Chicharito scored his 2nd goal of the year on Wednesday, and I just want to talk a little bit about the goal celebration because I'd like to see more of these from him in 2021.
No, you don't get to celebrate like a Laker if you've been playing like a Clipper all year long.
Oh my God, Doyle! Oh, just give them a little love. Throw them a bone. Come on. All right, so here's a look at what's on the line today, guys. Those final 2 playoff spots in the East up for grabs. We've also got the Supporters' Shield, top seed in the Western Conference, home field advantage in play-in and round 1 matchups, and of course, that golden boot presented by Audi. And as we keep saying, Philadelphia in the hunt for that first ever piece of hardware. They are taking on the New England Revolution, and right now we are going to send it out to ESPN's John Champion and Taylor Twellman with a preview of that match.
Susannah, thank you very much. I'm here with Taylor in the studio in Bristol, Connecticut, still reverberating from an earthquake this morning. It is 2020. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, conditions are beautiful at Subaru Park for the denouement of the regular season. And Philadelphia, for the 2nd week running, playing for their first ever trophy. It is chance number 2. Do they take it?
I think they do, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. And the reason why I say that, John, coming from someone that's lost many big games in his life, you do have some skeletons in the closet. I understand that many of these players weren't there, but Jim Curtin was, Raymond Gaddis was, right? So, and they know the history of those 3 U.S. Open Cup final losses. And so I think the first 15, 20 minutes is the most important because of, as you said, there's going to be, 3,000 fans there. You got to get that energy back into it. If they get an early goal, if they're on the front foot, then I think you could really put it to the New England Revolution, almost force them playing in the playing game, which they're trying to avoid. But the conversation is who's got more pressure on them. Make no mistake about it, Philadelphia Union do.
But they do have Jose Martinez back today, who has become an absolutely pivotal figure for them.
He is. Jim Curtin has said he's never had a player like this in his time as head coach of the Philadelphia Union. He compares him to Diego Chara. I just think he does a lot of the dirty work, but he's been a better player technically than they expected, which the diamond in the midfield revolves around that intricate passing, playing off of each other. Now, emotions are going to be high. That's the one caveat with him. Silly yellow cards, reckless challenges. That's going to be the key. But Martinez coming back, that is a massive, massive one, depending on who's in goal for Jim Curtin and the Philadelphia Union.
OK, we're going to cram in a pre-match meal. It's always omelette with Taylor. Always omelette. Always. Very boring, dull. Turkey anyway, sausage. Join us. ABC, 3:30
Egg
Eastern.
whites.
Tick tock. I say 17 minutes until 3:30. Decision day presented by AT&T. Kicking off with the Eastern Conference. You see it here. 2 playoff spots left. 5 teams battling for it. Of course, the Supporters Shield. ABC, Philadelphia, New England Revolution. Our day starts with a bang, and it'll end with a bang, too. The Sounders are here. Steve Zakawani is here. What's up, man? How are you doing? Let's get right into it. Brian Schmetzer, not happy about that draw against the Galaxy on Wednesday. Is this just a manager sort of needling his team, trying to get things going motivationally? Or do the Sounders actually have some issues to worry about ahead of the playoffs?
It's a little bit of both. So I think Schmetzer is savvy enough to know how to get a response out of some of the veteran guys. I'm thinking the Rui Diaz, the Nico Loderos. If he wants to get under their skin a little bit and light a fire, that's what that was for. There's a slight concern over the last 6 games, 1 win. But I would say the bigger concern is it's been a long time since this team's put together a good 90-minute performance. We normally get a good first half, then a really bad second half, or a very average first half, and then a turnaround after halftime. And you can't play the playoff in pieces. You have to be good for 90 minutes in the playoffs against some of those top teams and top attacking teams you'll face. So that's what the concern is, that they are struggling to put together a full 90-minute performance. And I think today, that's the agenda. You have to play well for the whole game.
All right, get a little break, go right into the playoffs. We know that's where the Sounders absolutely thrive. Let's talk about a team that's getting in on the back end. San Jose sealed their spot. Then I saw Chris Wondolowski wandering around the field there in San Jose with his cell phone, taking his time, soaking it in. And I wondered, is this it for Wondo? Is this the last season? Will he, won't he? What do you think about retirement for this MLS legend?
I really hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't, because the way he plays the game, he's not one of those guys that, he lost a bunch of speed and he's not who he was. Wondo's about movement. He's about just a little bit of quickness over 5 or 6 yards. And he still has that. He's still scoring goals. He's still a threat. He's still someone that I see on the pitch. And if we're playing against him, I'm like, okay, you better watch out for him. So I think he has more in the tank. And why not extend your record more and more? You have the record. Why not keep adding to it? So I really, really hope we haven't seen the last of Wondo. But if we have, what a player he's been. That's, I think, the example that should be held up to young players coming through to really fight your way to the top in this league, in this country, in this sport, because he's done it the right way. Worked hard, been a good leader, fantastic player. I don't think it's the end. I think he has more in him. He has more goals, and I really want to see him come back and extend that record.
All right, I hope you're right, Steve. I'm signing the petition. I want more Chris Wondolowski in this league. I want more with the San Jose Earthquakes. Seattle, Portland, Sporting Kansas City, they're fighting for the number 1 seed. But in my mind, it's more about who they're fighting to maybe avoid. Maybe the Rapids, but maybe even more so LAFC. They're sort of the sleeping giant here, no?
Yes. We've spent a lot of time talking about LAFC because it's so confusing. They lit the league on fire last season. And I'm ready to argue with anyone. Atlanta's, I think, team a couple years ago. Toronto's had a couple of good teams. Seattle has as well, Galaxy. But that LAFC team is the best regular season team I've ever seen. Both sides of the ball. Most goals, best defense, biggest goal differential. And then this year, they were leaking goals. I think that was the concern. But without Carlos Vela for most of the year, they're still the league's leading goal scorers. And now that he's getting back fit, BWP's fitting very well. Rossi's going to win the Golden Boot. Rodriguez gives them enough. They're the team to watch. I would hate to have to face that team fully fit with a motivated Carlos Vela after what happened to him last year in the playoffs. I wouldn't want to face them. And I think teams may overlook them and do that at your own peril, because that's a team that can score in a win. They still pose you problems that no other team in this league does. Some of their passing patterns and their triangles when they're on song is fantastic. However, defensively, they've gone down a couple of notches. So whoever they play is going to be like 4-3 or 3-2, one way or the other.
I got the new center back. That's good. We've got some New England foliage in these AT&T 5G call to the fields, and now we have Steve Zakawani's potted plant. Steve, we appreciate your time, man. We'll look forward to listening to what you have to say about the Western Conference later on. Suze, back to you.
Andrew and Steve, great stuff. All right, guys, a few days ago, the playoff scheduling was announced. Here is how it looks after quite an extended international break. Everything kicks off on November 20th. That's the Eastern Conference play-in round. November 21st through the 24th, round 1. November 29th, December 1st, December 2nd, the conference semifinals. December 6th, the conference finals, and it all wraps up on December 12th. That is the 2020 MLS Cup. It's all happening. And as part of Major League Soccer's 25th season celebration, MLS announced the 25 greatest presented by AT&T campaign, and the ballots are currently out. Over 200 MLS experts will vote from a list of over 135 candidates to comprise the 25 greatest players in MLS history. The final list of those 25 players will be presented on December 9th, just 3 days before MLS Cup. And these will not be a rankings per se, but more of a composition of the 25 greatest to ever play for Major League Soccer. And on that note, it's about time to discuss the candidates for the Landon Donovan MVP award. And a couple names just seem to be very prominent in this conversation, and that is Diego Rossi and Alejandro Pozuelo. Doyle, make the case for Diego Rossi.
Well, the case primarily is goals, because Diego Rossi has scored a lot of them. As Zakawani said, he's going to win the Golden Boot this year, but he does make the rest of the team better, and he's one of those guys who can do it without even having to touch the ball. As you see here, putting the ball in the back of the net, but he's a part of this great machine that LAFC has built, and you can see Mark Anthony Keita, Janela, and then these coordinated runs up top. Look at how early he recognized where the space was going to be. And now he's playing as a center forward, and it's the same thing. Rossi's getting a step and a half jump on everybody else on the field. You see how quickly he shifted into that top gear? And he doesn't get the final touch, but Latif Blessing does. This is not a goal unless Rossi has that perfect Predator's instinct in the box. He has put the ball in the back of the net all year. It hasn't mattered whether West has been out, hasn't mattered whether Blessing has had to play right back, no Carlos Vela for most of the year. It's been a magnificent season from this kid. That said, I'm still going to vote for Pozuelo, right, Calen? It's got to be Pozuelo.
I was going to say, come on, Doyle. Come on. He made a great case for Rossi, and look, I think he's been great, but Doyle, you're a stat guy. It said he's had a hand in 60% of the goals by his club this year. I mean, that is incredible. And when you look at what he's done it in big moments, he's done them late in games, he's played in different spots, he's scored goals in different ways. And look, great players, you can't do what they can do, but you can begin to see a little bit of what they see. And you can tell this Toronto side, they look to him as the brain of this team. He's been able to connect whenever they have had absences, injuries. He finds the right pass at the right moment to put his teammates in a better position for success. So it's been a difficult year for this team. Injuries, absences, relocations. It hasn't really mattered, and largely because of Pozuelo and their success. So for me, the big difference then is balance. Rossi scored goals, but so is Pozuelo, 9 right there. But the balance between goals and assists, I think, makes Pozuelo the clear choice for the Landon Donovan MVP this year.
Clear choice. The clear choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. You know what this segment made me miss so much? I miss like watching Doyle at the board with the paint and, kind of doing like the
little bit of Steve Kornacki stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
I was going to say, Susannah, you haven't spent enough time watching people at the board? What's going on?
I think I got so sucked into it, and then I'm watching this this paint graphic, and I'm like, oh man, I remember the good old days when we had a studio and we could Doyle. I'd be like, hey, send it to Doyle at the board, and he'd break it down, and oh man, you guys, 2020.
Different era, Suze. Different era.
You tell me about it. Okay, guys, time to discuss the Home Depot Best 11. And we were tasked with putting together our Best 11. And I just have to admit something to you guys. I did this very, very, very late at night after probably consuming a couple glasses of wine, watching the election coverage. I was very stressed. I didn't have a clear head, and I can't even really remember what I picked, but I do remember the hardest decision. I was very confused about who I should put up front, and I ended up giving Jazzy Zardes a spot, which I think is controversial. But I just feel like he's had such a turnaround at Columbus. He's finishing better. He's finding space better, and he's got 11 goals on this season. So I felt like he deserved a spot. He's a guy that kind of takes a lot of flack from us, admittedly, over the years, and I kind of just wanted to give him a little payback. So this is my
flack from us
Best 11.
Yeah. I don't have Jossie in mind, but he's got a really good argument. And like you said, he's so good at finding those spaces and making those runs. All that stuff that I was saying about Diego Rossi, that's what Jossie Zardes does every week for the Crew at center forward. So to me, it was a coin flip between him and Robert Beric at center forward. I ended up going with Robert Beric just because I think he does a little bit more for that Chicago team in terms of the build-up. He allows them to play over a press. He links play. But the big one I want to focus on I'll focus on two things. First of all, I pick an actual Best 11, which means I have fullbacks and defensive midfielders. But Alejandro Alejandro Bedoya is never going to get enough credit for the work he does on both sides of the ball in that Philadelphia Union midfield. He's so smart off the ball. He links everything they do. He covers so much ground defensively. He doesn't put up big numbers, so he's not going to make the Best 11. But to me, he was the best number 8 in the league this year, and I don't actually think it was that close.
Doyle's going to make picks. If Doyle could make a team, this isn't about putting together a team that's going to go on and win the Supporters Shield and play 30 matches in a season.
Best 11. You have to have fullbacks. You have to.
This will be sacrilegious to you, then, Doyle. You will be very offended by this. And if it were up to my extra time compadres, they would pick all outside backs and defensive midfielders. But I'm going to go the other direction and go with 3 center backs because I feel like they have been that central and important to their sides. And then, look, I have 0 number 9s on my Best 11. I think this is the year of the winger. We have not seen Rui Diaz, for me, fall short just because he's been absent for stretches of it. And Jossie's close, but I wanted to give the winger some love. So I've sort of jammed Pavone into my side. I think people will say, okay, well, the Galaxy haven't been good, but Pavone, for me, is one of the top players in this league. He needs to be within the Best 11. And then I've got some talented American wingers, Jordan Morris and Cash Mueller, who I think have done the business to be successful. And so I'm playing Rossi as my number 9.
Doyle's just shaking his head. Like, what? This is travesty.
Okay.
I could understand.
I finally got Calen to come around on Play Your Kids this year, and now I have to get him to come around on fullbacks and defensive midfielders. Okay, Calen. All right. I got a project for 2021.
We can't agree on everything. This is what makes for good content, though. We need
Pavone or Hollingshead. It was a tough choice, but
one of those guys is going to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I'd take that.
Zing. Ooh, boy, you guys. It is time for Calen's favorite segment, MLS Predict 6, presented by BetMGM, a weekly free-to-play game from Major League Soccer. Correctly predict the final outcomes of the 6 featured MLS matches, along with secondary predictions, such as which team or player will score first, or how many total goals will be scored, and you could win $50,000. And for Decision Day, even if no one correctly gets all 12 selections, the top weekly score is now going to win $2,500. It's not too bad. Head on over to MLSPredict6.com and play for free. So we're going to play a little pick six right now, and we are going to start with that Philadelphia-New England game. Doyle, who's your pick for that one?
I pick Philly. I think this is finally their time. They're going to get it done.
Calen?
Yep, I'm going Philly as well. I think the mobility, especially in the middle of the park, will be an issue for the Revs, as well as the depth off the bench.
Yep, I'm going Philly. They are going to get their first trophy. Mark it. You heard it here first. Okay, DC, Montreal. Doyle, who you got?
I'm picking a draw. I think Montreal have struggled for a good long while, but they'll throw 5 defenders back there and 3 defensive midfielders and just try to lock it down. And I think that'll be enough for them to get into the playoffs.
Okay, Calen?
I'm going the other way. Actually, Doyle went both ways, but I'm going with DC in this one. I just think Montreal have given up the most goals in the Eastern Conference this year, have not been able to keep zeros at the back. DC has had trouble scoring. Still, Rivas emerging. I'm going with DC in this one.
Wow. Okay, I'm going with Montreal. I don't know. I just have a hunch. I think they're going to dig deep, find a way, and Thierry Henry is going to be coaching in the postseason. Okay, let's move it along to Red Bulls against Toronto. Doyle, you're up.
It's not a full-strength Toronto side, but it's close to it. They have the MVP in Pozuelo. I think Toronto get it done, but they do fall short of that supporter shield.
Calen?
I'm going to agree because I've already picked Philly, but I'm going to go with Matt and pick Toronto. This time of year, with a lot on the line, I think TFC gets it done.
Yep, we are all on the same page on this one. I am picking Toronto. They will win. They will not win Supporters Shield, however. Okay, moving it along to LAFC. Portland, Doyle.
LAFC with Vela getting healthy, with that defense getting better at home. Portland injured now without 2 of their DPs, maybe Jeremy Abobasi as well. LAFC are going to get the win here.
I'm going the other way. I got Portland. I think Portland, they've dealt with injuries throughout. They've continued to find a way, and I think they've been a tough matchup for this LAFC side over the years.
Yep, I'm going Portland in this one. These games are always fun, and Portland seems to get the best of LAFC quite often. So, going Portland. Okay, Minnesota, Dallas. Doyle.
Minnesota has been clawing out results all year long. I think they claw out another draw here, despite being a team that's hit hard by injuries right now.
Yeah, I'm going draw as well. I think this one is it's a preview. They're going to play again in the playoffs. That tends to make for a more cagey affair, so I'm going with the draw, Minnesota-Dallas.
Okay, I'm going with Dallas in this one, just only because I'm going with my gut, because that's what I like to do in these situations. Okay, finally, Vancouver, LA, Doyle.
LA are going to get the win in this one, and Chicharito's going to do another LeBron celebration, even though he's been playoff P all year. So there you go.
I'd be into seeing that. Yeah, I think the Galaxy are going to win, but yeah, why not? Dom Kinnear.
Yeah. Literally, I'm going Galaxy for the exact same reason that Doyle said, except I appreciate the celebration, unlike him.
Show some respect.
Guys, that's going to do it for us. Make sure you join us after all the action as we break it down on our MLS Decision Day presented by AT&T post-game show. The gang is all going to be back. You can watch on all MLS platforms, Twitter, Facebook, site, app, YouTube, all of it. But for now, enjoy all of the soccer. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in a bit.